Okay, so this is going to be a run-through of lab number 3. So, as it calls out here, we are going to start with selecting the program editor. Selecting routines. And then file and create a new routine. This new routine is going to be called square. And then we're going to say show routine. The routine is going to look like this. Okay, now next we are going to move our, we have all our shapes taped down over here. We are going to jog the robot around to make sure we can actually reach all the points on here. So let's go into our jogging menu. I'm going to make sure I am on no increments. And I'm going to start off by, as always, we're going to break the wrist to avoid singularity. There we go. My joysticks were all locked right now. It was left unlocked from the last lab. So there I go. So I got my wrist down in a good position now. I'm going to switch to a linear. And I'm actually going to bring the robot over here and just see if I can actually reach all the different points that I want to try to get to. So could I actually reach as far as I want to go? And what we're going to see is I've actually taped this. That's about as far as I can go in Y. This is about as far as I can go in X. So I've actually taped these things in a spot that I can't reach. So let's make sure that is fixed. Okay, that I can actually reach. So there we go. I can actually reach everything that I need to get to. Okay, so that's good. So let's carry on from here. So, next thing we're going to do, make sure I'm going to define a home position. So a home position that's good for all of these shapes would be something that is up above all the shapes and kind of centrally located. So let's call that right about here. That looks good. So I jog to that position. And now I'm going to create that home position. And I'm going to do, in my square routine, I'm going to go back to my main module here. So my routine that is square, I'm going to create this position. I'm going to do a move J to this position and call it home. So I'm going to say add instruction, move J, and then I get this coming in. So you'll see this, what it does, move J star, the default speed that it does is V1000. The default speed see how I can select each little part of this. It's kind of tricky to do, but you can see how it has, that's the tool, that's the zone, that's the speed. I want to change this little there, so I selected that exclamation point right now. I want to say change selected. So I want to say this is a new. And when I create a new, it's basically going to create this point that I have right now. The default value is always going to be P10. I'm going to change that, and I'm going to call this P home. So remember to always rename your points as you create them. So this is now moving to P home, which is basically the point that I just am at right now. And that is in there right now. So if I now go to, my routine, so if I say debug, I'm going to crush this down a little bit so I can see it better. My square routine now has one line of code in it, which is a move J to P home, velocity 1000, zone of 50, tool 0. So let's see what that does if we actually run it. So if I jog off of here, and just jog over to here, I'm going to now say debug. I'm going to do a PP2 routine. What routine do I want to go to? I'm going to say square. I'm in my square routine now, and I'm going to play this routine. I'm just going to play it by stepping through it first. Stepping only goes one line at a time. So I'm going to say go to that point, and it is now moving to my point. You can see the little robot icon indicates where you're actually at. The pointer icon shows what the next line to be executed is. So it moved to that home point. And that's basically the way that we program this. We're going to repeat that process for all the different points on the square. So that was our home. The first one we're going to go to is going to be called S number 1. So we're going to jog over to S number 1, which is going to be over here. So in our linear mode, we will move downwards. I'm going to go about an inch above the paper. And jog over so I'm above S number 1. Eyeballing pretty well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my cursor here on my code, which is now move JP home. I'm going to say add instruction. I'm going to do a move J. You want to insert it above or below? I'm going to say below. So what that should do now is put in a new one right below my old one. It has now defined this as P home 10. Okay, just doing a move J to that point, calling it P home 10. Now we don't like that name P home 10, so we're going to go into edit. I'm going to click off this and click back on. I'll say edit, change selected, click that point, P home 10. I'm going to say edit that. Actually, I'm going to say new. I'm going to call this S1. S1. Now this is my new point that is defined as S1, and we're going to say OK. So that point is now called S1. I'm going to repeat that process now. So I'm going to jog over to S2. Right about there. I'm going to say add instruction. move J. It did this one. I'm going to click off, click back down here. I'm going to say edit, change selected, new. I'm going to call this S2. Okay. Okay. And I now have from home to S1 to S2. Let's jog again back here. I'm in the good position. Let's say instruction, move J, click off, click back on again, edit, change selected, give me a new point. Let's call this S3. Okay. And move once more. There we go. Add instruction. Move J. Edit. Change selected. New. S4. Okay. And okay. The very last line we want to do, once we're here, we want to return back to home. Now we've already got a move J to home in here, so what I can do, I can just go to this line. I can just say I'm going to copy that whole line, and then I'm going to paste it back down here, and that pastes that line right back at the end again. So I should have move to home, move to S1, move to S2, move to S3, move to S4, move to home, and go back to home again. So now the lab says, let's change our speed to 20%. So let's go over to here. Let's change our playback speed down to 20%. And let's try playing this back. So let's go to debug, PP to routine, square, puts us right here. We're going to say hide the declarations. You can see at the top here, the declarations are all of our points that have been stored in here. We're just going to hide those so it only shows the code. And we're going to try stepping through this program. So we're going to hold down. We're going to use this step button here. So step should go up to. And we can see our robot is here. Our pointer's here. And our step is now going to take us to from home down to S1. This is doing a joint move to S1. We're going to do a joint move to S2, a joint move to S3, a joint move to S4, and then a joint move back to home. All right, so that is our program. Now what we're going to do, let's turn our speed back up to 100. And let's actually run that in full playback mode. So we're going to use this button this time and run that in full playback mode and watch what it does. Now it is going in continuous mode right now, which means that it is just going to get to the bottom of the program and continue to loop. Okay, so that is our program. that is the basic structure for creating one of these programs. And if we want to stop, we can just hit stop at any point here. If we hit play, it'll continue. We can also hit stop and then step it through in the step mode. All right, so that is running our programs. So that is creating a routine, creating joint moves, and teaching points. That should be the basics of how we need to get through this lab.